Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Analytics Mindset. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you through the Model Context Protocol (MCP). Very useful actual extension of LLMs, particularly Claude. We're going to focus on Claude because this course was offered by Anthropic. And yeah, it is just a very small certification that you can get. And as I mentioned in Claude 101, it's also free. That's the best advantage of this. We always like free stuff. What is the model context protocol? So you can see here that after you finish this, you will get the certification and you will go into the foundations of MCP. I will just say MCP from now on, just to save some time in the video. You will need two things, MCP server and a Python SDK client. It integrates a lot with Python. The API is pretty powerful, actually. And it has three main components, the core primitives, tools, resources, and prompts. And Cloud can really incorporate it in a lot of different ways. So you can change a lot of things. You can extend LLM, you can customize it, you can get tools that other people develop, you can do a lot of things. But in comparison with Claude 101, you need Python programming. At least you don't need to be an expert on Python programming. You just need to understand at high level what's happening and what are some functions, some familiarity with object-oriented programming, and some understanding of what JSON is. How are JSON flags formatted? What are they used for mostly? And HTTP requests and responses, because that's how this server communicates with your Claude instance. I took it mostly for general knowledge, but it's mostly focused on developers looking to create MCP servers. And going into that now, let's just go really quickly. So you will first get introduction to MCP. I will again go really quickly through most of this. I will not spend that much time on each of them, but it's basically a communication layer. It allows you to communicate, to get most integration with different kind of codes, different kind of functions, different kind of things outside of Claude. You can take the burden of saying like the tools, definitions, and execution from the server into a specialized MCP server. And also something very nice about this course is that you have videos that actually expand a lot, and then you have the accompanying text that will just help you expanding on these topics. Now, you will see these diagrams here. This is a very important diagram. You have your server with the client and then the MCP servers with all the tools, prompts, and resources. Something important here is that you will most likely not do both of them. You are either going to retrieve from your client, from other servers in your client, or you're going to be managing a server, not the two of them. But this course does go through both of them just in case. Now, you are basically saying you want to connect to GitHub. I mean, this is a very common question. What open requests are there across all my repositories? Claude needs access to GitHub. And the AI will say, most likely, if you ever try it right now if you want. Pause the video and try asking not just Claude, but any LLM that you have. Maybe it's Git, maybe it's Copilot, or maybe it's ChatGPT. You will ask them. They will be asked, I don't have access to your GitHub profile, or I cannot do this, etc. That's where this comes into place. When you can connect to things, this is where. And that's something that we have seen Copilot before. The main advantage of Copilot is that it integrates with Microsoft Graph. So if your organization has Microsoft Graph properly set, you can actually retrieve a lot of stuff from there. However, there is a lot of cases where Copilot does not have integration. This allows you to do that, and MCP allows you to do a lot more with those capabilities than with massive functionality. You can get, for example, with this, without MCP, you need to create a lot of tool schemas, functions, handle all the features, but somebody may have already created it, so you don't need to do it. You can see here, you can get repos, there's the repos, all of those things from the server, even create files and create issues. Now, you need to be very careful. I actually have an instance not so long ago where Claude 4.6, 4.5 Opus. Actually, I manage with Git most of my deployments. And I created a lot of things on top of my previous work. And then Claude decided to add this random KPI cards at the top that look so ugly. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want that. Please remove them. It didn't do everything because the last commit was all the way down to when I started my session. And that made me lose like 3 hours of work. Be aware of that. LLMs are not perfect and they interpret stuff. You need to be very specific on stuff, especially when you're managing stuff like this. Get repos or list repos, that wouldn't be an issue. Create repos, yeah, maybe you have a couple repos that you don't need. Search issues, but if you go into update issue or create issue, that is where things get funny. And if you give access to delete stuff, that's where things get a lot more importantly funny. Yeah, MCP shifts this burden by moving these tools, definitions, and execution to dedicated servers. You can actually just be like, all right, this server will handle it for me, and it will send it to my client from the server. And this is my server, MCP server in Claude. So yeah, you can connect to that. I won't go that much into detail into the rest of it, but again, it helps you to integrate a lot of things. Helps you to integrate. It's an API at the end of the day. It is a very complicated API that manages other APIs through a server, and you can manage all those GitHub specific in this case. But some other things that you need to be aware of is that anybody can create MCP servers. And this is where it ties with the cloud security course that I took, that I will put somewhere here too. You should not connect to random servers. I think that's common knowledge. Same as you should not connect to random Wi-Fi networks with your phone, in case as you need to know what's happening there, if you can trust them. If not, you have a lot of risks. But AWS might release an official MCP server with tools for their servers. Perfect. You can connect to them. And that's where I said that it's very similar to APIs. The difference is that it's more for LLMs. You can also get other things like, well, GCP launches another one. Maybe Outlook launches another one. You get the point. But do not please connect to random MCPs implementations. You do not want to be attacked with that, and you are giving a lot of plus there's so many things like prompt injection or things like that you don't want it to happen. Now MCPs are also a lot more enriched. You can get the tools, schemas, and functions for you. You don't need to define them. You don't need to look into the API documentation. It's a layer of abstraction on top of an API if you want to think about it. You also can auto those tools definitions, but the main point is that it saves you the implementation work on working two LLMs. And the final concept I want to go through is that you can get the tool schemas and functions, but they're already defined for you. And the tool uses how Claude calls those for you. But with MCP, somebody else has implemented the tools. You don't need to write them from scratch. And there is a server inspector. I will not go that much into it, but I will just go through it very high level. It is a server that you can start with this command in the command prompt in your Python environment, and then you will get this where you can test your tools. You can say, hey, can I connect to this tool? I created this. Is it actually working? All of those things. And the last thing here that I want to do is coming here at the end of the wrap up. I'm going to walk you really quickly. You can list prompts, you can get individual prompts, you can actually define prompts saying there's a prompt already there for the user to use. And yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with MCP. You can define tools, extra tools that extend Claude. You can do things like implement a client, define the resources, and yeah, pretty much that's about it. But going really quickly to the review, just in case I just want to go. There you go. This is a very nice graph for you to have. The tools are model control, and Claude decides when to call this. They are used by Claude. They give additional functionality to Claude. Now, resources are app control. Your your app decides when to call this, it could be like getting data into our app or add context to messages, and prompts are user control. The user decides how to use the control, and the user is the one starting the workflow input, like a slash command, button click, or menu option. And you can see here they see more examples. Model control. Pro Tools, you give more capabilities, like calculate the square root of 3 using JavaScript, and then you will get a JavaScript execution tool inside Claude instead of Claude doing it by itself. You have app control too. For example, you get a bottom of ads from Google Drive or ads from YouTube or extract my YouTube analytics, for example, if I were to be fancy. And the application code determines how the documents will show and handles inject into the model. And finally, the user one, the one we touch the least because it is very self-explanatory. The user decides when to run this, just clicking onto it. They are good for users to trigger demand. The workflows below the chat inputs, for example, of these prompts. So think about it when you go into your favorite LLM session and it says, "What do you want to do today?" Or when you put common instance of a question, how much money do I need to retire? The LLM most likely will have already predefined prompts saying, when are you planning to retire? What are your financial goals by the age 67, 69, 70? Or how many dependents do you have? All those things will be very nice to have. And yeah, you will need to choose the right primitive. That's where I'm gonna wrap up this video. If you need to give Claude new capabilities, use tools, need to get data into your app for UI or context, use resources, and finally, if you want to create predefined workflows for the user, use prompts. Something else, one more thing that I will tell you is that MCP is very young. A lot of these things for LLMs are very young. So what you are seeing now is probably just the tip of the iceberg. There is an advanced topics on MCP2 that Anthropic offers that will be the next course in this series, and I'm probably going to finish it as well. But for now, that's all I want to leave you guys with. And as always, if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to use the chat and I will be here. Thank you. Have a good day.